Alright, what's up YouTube? It's Ben with Team Victory Star. I've been getting a lot of requests lately to do a deck profile on this. It's a deck I've been doing fairly well with lately at both League Challenges and Cities. So far I'm 14-1-2 at League Challenges and 8-4 at Cities, so not fantastic at Cities, but it's not bad. Just 2 4-2 finishes on that. I've actually won 4 League Challenges now with it. It is Dragon type Mega Rayquaza, or as I like to call it, Dragon Ray. Simpler that way. First of all, Pokemon lines. 4 Reshiram. Mandatory. If you don't run 4 Reshiram, you're making a mistake in this deck. What this is used for is Turbo Blaze, which lets you accelerate fire energy cards onto your bench, or active for that matter, dragon types, as long as you're attaching to the Reshiram. But basically, it sets up the Dragon Ray faster.
So we play 4 Reshiram?
4 Reshiram. Next is kind of pretty important. 3 Rayquaza EX. I've been looking for the promo one actually because I think the art looks better, but it does the same thing.
I got one.
It's nice against Night March because Dragon Claw kills Joltix in one shot. Dragon Strike kills a lot of things in one shot. But basically kind of the backbone of the deck. You can't really do much without it. Next up is 3 Mega Rayquaza. I've heard some people saying I should only run 2, but I've found myself having to throw them away often enough that I really don't think 2 would work. Frankly, I think that any Pokemon that you can set up relatively quickly that can consistently get off attacks for 300 damage is always going to have some place in the format. It may not be top tier, but it's not bad, and I've liked it a lot, so you just discard 2 energy to do 300 damage, and also, Delta Wild. Vespiquen cries, parts of Night March cries, Sceptile cries, Manectric cries, lots of things cry against Delta Wild. It reduces damage done to this Mega Ray by 20 damage if it's hit by a Grass type, Fire type, Water type, or Lightning type, so that's very helpful. And something you may pay attention to is that all of these, the Mega Ray, the Rayquaza, the Reshiram, all have a retreat cost of 2, which is very important when you consider the next card. 2 Hydreigon. Some people have said you should only run 1 because bench space is a thing, we'll get to that later. I think you should run 2 because if you get 1 stuck in the active, I really don't like having to attach an energy card to it just to retreat. And in really desperate situations, you can use Shred to get through, say, a Regice's resistance blizzard or things like that. But what's really helpful about this is Dragon Road. As long as it's in play, if there's a Stadium card in play as well, for each Hydreigon you have in play, it does stack. It reduces your Dragon type's retreat cost by 2.
Do they stack on each other?
They do stack on each other. Now, something that I've been kind of on the fence about lately, that I've been kind of switching out between this and Bunnelby, which, for obvious reasons, has been 1 Giratina. Now, has it been absolutely necessary every tournament? Absolutely not. In fact, I think I've only used it about 4 times across all those games. But it's nice to have. It's particularly good against Mega Sceptile, Mega Manectric, things like that. And it also gives you a little bit of a lock if you can get it set up quickly. Has a 3 retreat cost, so you have to have 2 Hydreigons in play just to retreat it for free, but you usually do if you're playing this right anyway, so it's not a big deal.
Thoughts on Latios?
No.
No? Okay.
Just flat no.
Alright.
It's not a box deck, honestly. It may look it because of the Giratina, but it's not.
Okay, go ahead.
Next is something I added fairly recently, actually. Hoopa. Just 1 Hoopa. The thing I don't like about it is that it's got the 2 retreat costs and it's going to be stuck up there for a while unless you can get the switch pretty quickly. But it lets you set up really quickly early on. It lets you get away with a lot of lower counts. Ultra Ball, for example, we'll get to that later. But Hoopa is good. You should all know why by now. Just Scoundrel Ring gets you play it to your bench, you search your deck for 3 Pokemon EX and put them in your hand. That's usually going to be a Rayquaza, a Hydreigon, and a Shaman, but it varies depending on the situation, obviously. Alright, and part of the engine here, 3 Shamans. Some people run 4, some people could run as few as 2. I prefer 3, it's a nice balanced number of them, and usually, as we'll see with the stadiums later, you can get them out of play even without Super Scoop-Ups or AZ, which neither of which I run because that would just be a waste of space. But we all know what Shaman does, the setup for drawing to 6, yada yada yada.
And have you played the same list for all 4 Elite challenges?
No, although the only significant changes have been switching between Giratina and Bunnelby, and then adding the Hoopa about halfway through those 4.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's all the Pokemon in there. Next, on to supporters. 3 Sycamores, I think is pretty standard. We all know what it does, just discard your hand and draw 7 cards. It's arguably the most consistent supporter in the format. Not sure what else there is to say about it, honestly. Next, and some people are gonna give me some trouble for this, but 2 Professor Birch's observations. Now, this is kind of iffy, because you do have to flip the coin for it. Now, if you flip heads, you get the 7 cards, if you flip tails, you get 4. But, honestly, it's a better ratio, technically speaking, than Shauna, because it averages 5.5 cards. The math is kind of stupid, but bear with me. And I like having the possibility of getting 7 cards off of a shuffle supporter. So, 2 Birch. Next is 2 Lysanders, because it's Lysander. There should be 2 Lysander in every deck. This is always nice, getting around Giratinas and things like that. Getting around a Regice. Basically, and targeting, obviously, what you want to hit. So, if you need to kill that Shaman for the last 2 prizes and what's active is only going to give you 1, Lysander. It answers most of the questions we have at this point in the game. Next, 1 Judge. I like it, but I don't like it enough to run more than 1. I run it split between Birch and Judge. So, it's a good card. It helps with the uncertainty of what's in your hand, things like that. Now, the last supporter, 1 Hex Maniac. Shuts down all abilities until the end of your opponent's next turn. This, really, 1 word. Giratina. You can kill Giratinas with this, with Mega Ray. And that's invaluable. Alright, item cards. 4 versus Seeker, because it's versus Seeker. Arguably the best card in the game right now. Get a supporter out of the discard pile, and yeah, not sure what there is else to say about that. Next, 4 Mega Turbo, because sometimes it's hard to get 2 energies onto a Mega Ray that just discarded 2 of them on the last turn to use Dragon Ascent. It also helps set up quickly when you need it. It's good. I have run with 3, but I think 4 is better. 3 Ultra Ball, one of those things that you can kind of get away with because of the Hoopa in there. You're fairly likely to get an Ultra Ball early game, so that you can use that to go get the Hoopa and get everything else you need, pretty much. So, it's Ultra Ball. Not much more to be said about that. 3 Rayquaza Spirit Link, because we don't like having to end our turn to Mega Evolve. That's just annoying and a waste of time most of the time. And you don't really need any other tool when your Mega Rayquaza is going to be hitting for 300 anyway. 2 Switch, because being able to Turbo Blaze with Reshiram more than once a turn is really useful. Trust me, it's fantastic. Also, getting a Hoopa stuck active is just a pain in the rear.
Do you like 3 or 4 Switch?
You know, actually, I've been wanting to try 3 Switch. I'm just not sure what I'd take out to try it. Although it may end up being this next card, but I do want to experiment with that, but we'll see.
Okay.
Super Rod. I only run 1. You really only need 1. Honestly, I could get away with not running any if I really wanted to, but I like having the sort of insurance policy that it provides. Shuffle in 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile back into your deck. There's always going to be a place for that. Alright, that's all the item cards. On to stadiums. I run a 3-2 split of Shrine of Memories and Skyfield. Skyfield, as most of us should know by now, will let each player have 8 benched Pokemon in play at a time, and Shrine of Memories allows each player's evolved Pokemon to use any attack from their previous evolutions. It still needs the energy to use that attack, but in this deck you're going to have that energy anyway. Basically, I like Shrine of Memories because it lets Mega Rayquaza, use Dragon Claw and Dragon Strike so that you don't have to burn all that energy. You don't have to hit a Joltik for 300 damage. Long story short. And you can also use the Sky Field. You set up with the Sky Field in play if you were lucky. And then, like, let's say you've got Hoopa and 2 Shamans on the bench and then 5 other Dragon types. Drop the Shrine of Memories. Take away those 3 easy targets.
Why do you play the 3-2 split? Why not a 2-2?
I generally find myself needing Shrine of Memories more often than Skyfield. And the reason I run 5 is because, well, Stadium Wars. There's just Stadium Wars. I don't like losing Stadium Wars, basically. Alrighty. On to the energy. 7 fire. I think I've always run 7 fire. I think that's pretty standard for this deck. You don't really need to run any more, and if you run any less, you're going to be in trouble. Energy droughts are bad, although today I was actually drawing nothing but energy, so that's kind of a wash. But yeah, 7 fire energies, because you get them early game, you can use Reshiram to Turbo Blaze them, and that's always fun. 1 lightning energy. I used to run 2. I've gone down to 1 just partly because I've got Super Rod in the deck, partly because Mega Turbos are nice, and partly because I needed to find space for that Giratina. But the 1 lightning energy in case you're against, say, Aegislash and you can't get your Hex Maniac or something like that, or you just want to attach the basic energy and not risk getting hammered. 1 lightning energy is the boss there. And finally, the meat of this deck, the bread and butter, heart and soul, 4 double dragon energy. There is no reason not to run 4 of this card in this deck, and in fact, if you try to run this deck without 4 double dragon energies, you are making a massive mistake. Don't. Just take it from me, don't. Double dragon energy basically allows you to you set up faster. You can use Giratina, because without double dragon energy, it can't attack with their basic energy in the deck.
You can also use Hydreigon.
You can also use Hydreigon, that's also true. Shred is a nice thing, as I said before. And it also lets you basically reset a Mega Rayquaza that just used Dragon Ascent on the last turn with 1 energy attachment, which is invaluable in this deck. So, that's pretty much all I got for Dragon Mega Rayquaza. It's been a fantastically fun deck for me to run. I've won more often than not, significantly more often than not with it. Hope everybody enjoyed. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We love hearing back from you guys, so if you want to see some specific stuff on the channel, let us know. And thanks. Hope to hear from you soon.